ciencia.
Me, myself, and I still pushing forward, I'm ahead like die. Standing on my flow with my head to the sky. Pass on a bitch, young rip, drop dimes. It's been a rough road, gotta look for the signs. I'm married to this music, so I cook for my bride. Flip out like a skateboarder, look how I grind. It took a long time, but I'm right on time. I'm progressing, that's progressive, I got bars like a correction. Still chasing petty cash, that's a mantis. I want extra, I stop searching for my pops. I hold my nuts just like a checkup. I get physical, I'm copping just like Interpol. I play on words like a syllable, to me the world is fading. Hold this L just like a Laker, like a birthday, my shit caking. It get messy like an apron, I pick out just like some bacon, and I sizzle like it too. Can't forget about you, boo, it feel like we on a loop. Same shit, different day, I don't know what's really true. I get high as I leave hoops, who gon' give me what I'm owed? Man, I guess nobody knew, and I know that money talks, so what it said is probably true. It's the feeling that I get, and the shit I'll probably do to get through or get by. I get fly, cause I'm Jeff Goldblum in my mind. Tell them hoes to fall in line. If you thought I fell off, bitch, I'm back like my spine. Hot as homemade pie, that's the pro rate, ma. I'm a pro, ain't I? Sniff it out like K9s. I'm a thief, it take time to be great, I'm Bayside. I get blue like Kelly Parker, when I'm gone I left a mark. Tell them fish I'm still a shark, I got will, I will embark on this journey till it's finished. In the midst of all this friction, I got vision on my piece like no limit. Like a mouse, now we clicking, I go out for the spinach, that's business.
Cut the cord that kept us connected, blacking out the mirror where your light once reflected. All of the love from up above, we used to feel like a glove. I still think about the you that only exists in my brain. Nothing ever stays the same, guess it's just a shame. There's no one to blame.
Stop looking for somebody else to lay the blame. Without a wave of change, life stays the same. So when I pull up to your spot, I'm with a paradigm chick. Only used to have one and it's my paradigm ship. Calls for celebration, I cracked a hand. I took a hiatus, but I'm back again. A bunch of blue face hundreds, I've been stacking them. Cause in the game of life, I just have to win. So when I'm in go mode, I be ballin' insane. Tried to walk away, they was calling my name. My brothers from another, we are all in the game. Don't give a fuck about clout nor all of the fame. I'm trying to inspire, empower, build and progress at a steady rate. Move heavyweight like a Bowflex. The haters make me greater, they mad, I got them so stressed. Shock my style for a while, now I can show text. Screenshots as proof and receipts. You a certified clown, been a goof in the streets. Angel made the beat, but this my demon flow. Get a lot of love from people I don't even know. And when the situation's ugly like Dudley, we do right. Fuck propaganda, let's conquer and unite. The wait's over, take over, it's commencing. My money fully grown, and yours like an infant. But that ain't no shade to you, it's just provision and protection, what you made to do. Being a man with a purpose, who you supposed to be. Living life as a loser, that's a joke to me. FN 509, stay close to me. If I pull it, I'ma spray like some potpourri. I don't wanna have to go there, so hopefully you don't try to have no beef or no smoke with me. Bro, everything I'm talking about, be backing it up. I'm back in the cuts, rapping the Dutch and macking a hut. She start to get aroused when I'm smacking her butt. Baby got stupid cheeks and she be clapping it up. I'ma enter through the front and hit the back of her guts. She a classy lady but be acting a slut. When we be kissing and cuddling, my bitch like to hug. Her box customized so it fit like a glove.
Turn your radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy, that dude, and Impromptu Stream back with another one. This one is gonna be a banger. Most definitely controversial with all of the tumultuous things going on, so it will be a doozy. It's late. I don't like to keep y'all waiting. So before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても実は世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。グッドさんのこっち見ない。
Look, this promethazine got me leaning like a cholo. In the club, I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting modo. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy, that dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really in me. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of better.
And we are activated. Thank y'all. Y'all coming in hot and heavy. So, of course, I got to give a shout out to my Canadian brethren, Sac Passe, my Haitian brethren over in Canada, Ashura. Also, Knowledge and Relationships says, what up, Brody? Congratulations on the monetization. Appreciate that. And look, if y'all want to hit your boy with a super chat or a super sticker, feel free. Just know that YouTube, they taking 30% off the top. You know what I mean? So if you send $100, is really, I'm getting like 70 out of it. But hey, I appreciate any contribution, anywhere from $1 to $1 million. You know what I mean? So I appreciate y'all. And it won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. But let's see who else we got in here. Also, we've been joined by the illustrious, the prolific, the prominent, sincere Saida. Also, John Sin Different, what it did it do, aka John Sinatra, one of the illest and the realest. Roger Meadows, he been creeping in the building trying to get his black card back. He this close to getting it back in the building. And also salute to Knowledge and Relationship coming in hot with a generous contribution of $10. And for that, hold on, let me see. Knowledge and Relationships, I gotta hit you.
Thank 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 you.
I sincerely appreciate that, bruh. So look, we gonna get right into this thing because I know that it's late, but have y'all been paying attention to the war, Israel and Iran? And I'm gonna try to get into this. So if I don't get everybody in the chat, just because I know it's late and I want to be able to touch into that. And shout out Knowledge and Relationships. And if anybody wants to come up, let me know. Obviously, it can't be on no troll stuff. You got to bring some level of scholarship and sophistication. And I got to know you. I don't feel like rocking out with randos tonight because your boy is about to cook. And you said, why not monetize through StreamYard? I hear they take less. You know what? All this monetization is new to me. I just got monetized. I don't even have 1,000 subs yet. So that is my goal to get to 1,000 subs. So I'm not getting paid for my views. It's just only if someone decides to make a generous contribution. You know what I mean? So I appreciate y'all. But like I said, I mean, I don't do it for the bucks because obviously I haven't been getting paid. But I do have a visual about that. But we gonna get right into this thing. Let me just pull these, let me pull a couple of these banners down and then we will rock out. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. Now I can give the overview of what's going on, but I'm sure y'all haven't been living under a rock. So let's just get right into it. This video that I will be reacting to is from a page, and I'll have a couple videos that I'll play. Depending on how y'all responding will depend on how much longer I go, but I won't be here too long. So this is from the channel called Anonymous Official. They posted this today, and mind you, this information is fluid. It's a lot of moving parts. So this is a Tucker Carlson interview, and there was some information. The video is about 11 minutes long, but there was some good information in this video. So as soon as this ad plays, we will get right into it. And let me know if you guys have any issues hearing this. And this is going to be fair use. This is going to be an informative video. I will have to pause it, rewind it, fast forward to make it transformative to avoid getting a copyright strike and so that I'm not infringing on the content. But I thought that this was a very substantive video. When people are wondering, oh, Trump just bombed the country and in the US just bombed the country and got us in a forever war for nothing. No, it wasn't for nothing. This is just not some stumbling, bumbling idiot here. These are highly sophisticated warmongers who have been planning this for decades, since before many of us have even been alive. So they've been playing the long game, and much of the long game is starting to come into fruition thanks to Trump. Let's just get right into it.
And when Wesley Clark said, if you go back to, and when Wesley Clark said, we're going to invade 7 countries in 5 years, what you were talking about were the countries where those central banks were not on board to do programmable money. And their governance structures were not on board with essentially, because of Epstein, I'll call it the Rockefeller Rothschild model. There was an effort to say, okay, we're going to basically assert control of the central banks in those countries. That's my interpretation. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing so much tension around Iran is because Iran right now is the big leakage in the system.
How?
So
it's not about their nukes?
No. So, Iran's central bank counts. One of the reasons it counts is because they're.
So notice she is talking about central banking. She says Iran's central banking is more of an issue than their alleged nuclear capacity, which is non-existent, right? It was just months ago that the US and Israel was saying that they completely decimated and demolished any hope of Iran being able to complete a nuclear weapon. They said that they assassinated and slaughtered many of their nuclear scientists. Okay, so y'all good now. Y'all said y'all bombed these nuclear sites so they can't get it popping, and y'all assassinated the nuclear scientists. Those nuclear scientists, they're not just born every day. They don't just grow on trees. Many of those nuclear scientists were elder statesmen, right? So once they get slaughtered, their knowledge goes with them. Israel and the US said they destroyed all this stuff. Now they're saying, no, but Iran is still the big bad boogeyman. But you said you knocked off the boogeyman. Like, you took all of the boogeyman's weapons and everything. So how is the boogeyman still scary? And mind you, they want you to say that Iran is the boogeyman and and Israel has nuclear weapons that they're lying about. We don't have nukes. They talk about how sophisticated their acumen is, their knowledge, their intelligence, but yet they're hiding nukes. They never signed that proliferation agreement to say that they wouldn't enrich past a certain nuclear capacity, right? So all of this stuff is hypocrisy, and people want you to be like, well, if you're a Westerner or if you're an American, then you're just supposed to not call out the hypocrisy. I mean, I thought this was a morally righteous Christian nation. What's moral about slaughter, savagery, and depravity? Let's get back into it.
Oil and energy is very important, including for China.
Yeah.
And that's very important in the BRICS system. What the BRICS system is trying to do was an effort to say, okay, we're going to basically assert control of the central banks in those countries. That's my interpretation. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing so much tension around Iran is because Iran right now is the big leakage in the system.
How?
So,
Wait, it's not about their nukes?
No. So, well, Iran's central bank counts. One of the reasons it counts is because their oil and energy is very important, including for China.
Yeah.
And that's very important in the BRICS system. What the BRICS system is trying to do is to create independent payment systems. But if you're going to come out with programmable money, with digital IDs that are interoperable globally, and programmable money that controls in each jurisdiction centrally, you can't afford leakage. And so you've got way too much leakage in the system to proceed with what they're trying to do. And Iran and the BRIC nations are a sticking point. And certainly Iran's oil, feeding China gives China greater independence.
So you think that...
So, like she said, that will give China greater independence. So this is a proxy war. For one, this is because Israel has put a battery in the back of Trump, and almost all presidents lick the boot of Israelis, right? Or let's just say the Israeli Zionist established order, right? So now they're fighting a proxy war on here. Let's lick the boots on Israel and do their bidding, but also let's weaken China and the BRICS alliance as well. So it gets very messy and much deeper. But are you going to hear this on the lamestream media? Right? I'm not a political analyst or pundit. You shouldn't be finding random YouTube channels that will give you more information than CNN, who they have the infrastructure and the intellectual capacity to give you this information. But since they aren't, why is that? Because this is what they want to happen. Both sides, both parties support it. And this warmongering, going back and forth, bickering, arguing over frivolous matters, not getting into the crux and the meat and potatoes of said issue. That's all political theater for you to get grounded in, and pick a side and think that, hey, you're on the right side of history. But both parties supported the Iraq war. You know what I mean? They said they made a mistake and 1 million Iraqis were slaughtered, right? When the guy with the funny mustache, when they talk about the H day, right? The H cost, right? And they say he allegedly killed 6 million J people, right? But why isn't no one saying that Bush killed over 1 million Iraqis, right? Did the dude with the funny mustache literally with his hands kill 6 million J people? Obviously, it's physically impossible, but they're crediting all of that slaughter and mayhem to him. Fine, the standard and the precedent has already been set. If Adolf is responsible for over 6 million J people being slaughtered, then Bush and some other people are responsible for over 1 million Iraqis being slaughtered, right? We can't say that the US did that. No, we have to give the credit to one man. So that was on Bush, right? They're not saying that the Nazis slaughtered 6 million Jews. They're saying Adolf did it. Okay, fine. It wasn't the US soldiers that slaughtered those Iraqis in the bombs, and they try to desensitize it and say, hey, it wasn't a bunch of soldiers doing it. We were flying in B-2 bombers and leveling the place. So, we were using drone warfare, right? Okay, fine. George Bush and Obama is responsible for millions and millions of people dying. Why is it never being framed like that, right? Give them the same credit that they gave to Adolf. Let's get back into it.
Rothschild model. There was an effort to say, okay, we're going to basically assert control of the central banks in those countries. That's my interpretation. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing so much tension around Iran is because Iran right now is the big leakage in the system.
How?
So
it's not about their nukes?
No. So, Iran's central bank counts. One of the reasons it counts is because their oil and energy is very important, including for China.
Yeah.
And that's very important in the BRIC system. What the BRIC system is trying to do is to create independent payment systems. But if you're going to come out with programmable money, with digital IDs that are interoperable globally and programmable money that controls in each jurisdiction centrally, you can't afford leakage. And so you've got way too much leakage in the system to proceed with what they're trying to do. And Iran and the BRIC nations are a sticking point. And certainly Iran's oil, feeding China gives China greater independence.
So there it goes again, seizing the land for oil. Here we go again. Where have we heard this before? And that's why what they did with Venezuela was strategic. While they are getting a surplus in oil by force and coercion, they're also trying to weaken and or limit the capacity for China to be importing all of this oil as well. So yes, this is a proxy war that we're in. It's framed as this Israel's war and it's a war in the Middle East, but this is definitely, it's like two people are fighting and you like, that ain't my fight. Yeah, you're in the fight. You know what I mean? You supplied some weaponry when the other person was down, you got some kicks in. Yeah, you're complicit. You in this fight too.
So you think that one of the motives behind toppling all these governments was the creation of the control grid we're talking about now?
Right. So if you go back, so you had the wonderful Richard Werner on your show. Yeah. And Richard has a book called The Princes of the Yen, which is about the sort of effort to take over the Japanese central bank. And I think what you're looking at, I think part of the state of play with both Russia and Iran is how are you going to make sure that those
And just to be clear, if you guys want to watch this video uninterrupted, I told y'all where to watch it. But here we give commentary, reactions, and scholarship. But also, I can't just play the video all the way through without getting a copyright strike. So also, let me give y'all some scholarship. What she's talking about, Richard Werner, and Werner is spelled Werners. So look this book up. It's called Princes of Yen, and it's a deep dive into how Japan's post-war economy was shaped. Was mainly shaped by the central bankers. Where have we heard that before? So what the book is about, Werner is arguing that Japan's central bank was engineered as both an asset bubble in the 1980s and the prolonged recession. So it talks about how the bankers engineered that, how they engineer the crashes. And then when the crashes come and let's say the housing market tanks, who was there to buy all those houses, right? They'll let the housing market get out of control where no one could afford it. And then when it crashes, then all of the, the private big business buys it up and then rents them out as Airbnbs. This is part of the World Economic Forum's part of their doctrine, allegedly, but we did hear them say you will own nothing and be happy. Remember when y'all grew up and the American dream was for Americans to own a house, and it most preferably would have a white picket fence in the front? When is the last time you even heard that? You know why? Because now the American dream is owning nothing and be happy, right? And then they'll always compare. Hey, well, do you want to go to Africa? Do you want to live in the Middle East? They always compare it to some distant land that you're not from. I don't need to compare my situation to Africa or Israel or Iran or Bangladesh, right? I'll compare it to the past history of this country, right? I'll say, look, this is how it was in the past. This is how it should be in the future. That's what I will compare it to. I don't need to compare it to some European slums or anything like that. So that's just what they do. So now they've desensitized Americans to just accept whatever the government gives them. And then you got goofballs. Tucker Carlson is one of them, but I do appreciate that he will call out some of the established order in Israel. But Elon Musk talking about we need more white babies. How you gonna get more white babies when you guys don't even want to pay anyone? Elon Musk and Trump thinks white people and Americans in general are too stupid to do many of these jobs, which is why they're always clamoring to hire more H-1B visas and foreign exchange students who aren't American and who aren't citizens, but they craft all sorts of ploys to get them over here and make them citizens. And this is nothing against them. This is just what they've been saying and doing out in the open. But this book, Princes of Yen, it talks about how the central banking and the central bankers, how they manipulate and orchestrate the society to go in their favor. Where have we heard this before? Where have we seen this before? And it also talks about that the bankers were trying to not only shift the structure of the society ideologically, but also they wanted to shift power away from the elected officials and towards technocratic institutions. Look up this term as well, techno-feudalism. So in the digital age that we're going into, people, they've already dominated you through air, sea, and land. They also want to dominate you digitally as well, which they've already done. But they already control all of this stuff. So it's one thing to be in control. It's another thing to completely dominate. And then it's another thing to destroy, right? So they don't only want to control, they want to control, dominate, and destroy at will. You know what I mean? So it's really deep, but look that book up by Richard Werner. It's called Princes of Yen. Let's get back into it.
Because their oil and energy is very important, including for China.
Yeah.
And that's very important in the BRICS system. What the BRICS system is trying to do is to create independent payment systems. But if you're going to come out with programmable money, with digital IDs that are interoperable globally and programmable money that controls in each jurisdiction centrally, you can't afford leakage. And so you've got way too much leakage in the system to proceed with what they're trying to do. And Iran is, and the BRIC nations are a sticking point. And certainly Iran's oil, feeding China gives China greater independence.
So you think that one of the motives behind toppling all these governments was the creation of the control grid we're talking about now?
Right. So if you go back, so you had the wonderful Richard Werner on your show. Yeah. And Richard has a book called The Princes of Yen, which is about the sort of effort to take over the Japanese central bank. And I think what you're looking at, I think part of the state of play with both Russia and Iran is how are you going to make sure that those central banks are entirely in the system?
So, yeah, that was an amazing interview. And he told the story about writing this book on the Japanese central bank. I can't imagine a more obscure topic from my non-economically minded standpoint. It'd be like writing a book on postcards from the Falkland Islands. It's like, okay, a book on the Japanese central bank. And he said, well, actually, they suppressed it. I couldn't get it published in the United States, and you can't get a copy. And that's like checkable. So I checked it. You can't get a copy of that book. It's really hard.
You can. I think you can order from its publisher right now.
Okay.
Right.
But, I mean, like, why would someone try to suppress
because
a book?
It shows you the true, it takes you right into the secret governance system, and it shows you the primary mechanism by which they implement policy.
Yeah. Well, it's always the things you're not allowed to say are probably the important things, right? I mean, whenever they penalize you for having a thought, you're probably on the right track.
Well, it's one of the critical train tracks of.
There's a saying, and if y'all know the exact saying, y'all can let me know in the chat, but so I'll just paraphrase. But if you want to know who's in control, just look at who you're not allowed to criticize. And I know it makes people uncomfortable when I say things like all slurs matter. And I say that, hey, if you guys want to drop N-bombs and say it's just a word, right? Then every slur is just a word, right? And if we should get over being called the most grotesque, vile slur ever known to man, right? Why shouldn't we be able to say any other slurs? There's one slur that people won't dare to say, and it starts with a K, right? There's a slur that says Ike, and then you put a K in front of it. Guess what demographic of people that is, right? I always say this. If you put a gun to someone's head and say, hey, say a Jewish slur right now or I'm going to pull the trigger. Many people will say, hey, just pull the trigger, because if I say that Jewish slur, my life is over. Many people don't even know what the Jewish slurs are, but they do know about nigga, and they do know about nigger, and mud sharks and any other thing, BLM, George Floyd, DEI, CRT, anything they turn into a pejorative, right? And then a bunch of MAGA moronic maniacs like to say, it's the Jews, and a secret cabal of them running the world, right? But they refuse to call them a slur. If they're just so bad, this big bad boogeyman cabal of people that are running the country into the ground, the least you can do is call them a slur, right? You see an educated black dude going to college, you call him a nigger. Why? What did he do? He came from a 2-parent home. He grew up with a silver spoon, but because he's black, you have no issue dropping an N-bomb. But you say that, oh, we're going to war for Israel. Israel is full of Jewish people, right? If you're so mad at them, why won't you show some level of aggression? And obviously, just to be clear, I'm being facetious, satirical with my rhetoric. But could you really refute what I'm saying? Do people know what a Jewish slur is? Why should the N-word reign supreme when all slurs matter? But this is how you could know who's in control, allegedly, theoretically, hypothetically, if you can't even criticize them or you refuse to criticize them. Remember Ilhan Omar, who I'm not a supporter of. She is a Somalian tether. But there was a time when she was in Congress and she said, it's all about the Benjamins, right? And shout out to Diddy, Free Diddy. Remember that song? It's all about the Benjamins, baby. All about the Benjamins, baby, right? You think about Bad Boy, you think of some jam, right? No. When Ilhan Omar said all about the Benjamins, the Jewish lobby came at her. And there were some bootlicks and sambos, some liberal lunatics that came at her and called that anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic for saying it's all about the Benjamins. Okay, is politics not all about the Benjamins? This is what's weird, right? Black people are supposed to get stereotypes called the N-word, saying you love fried chicken and watermelon. two things that are very delicious. Don't you love fried chicken? I know you do because it's delicious. Watermelon, extremely healthy. Don't you love that too? Right? Okay, fine. We have to deal with that stereotype. Some Jewish people have stereotypes that not only are they good with money, but they love money. What I mean, is that really a bad thing to love money? We have to get over being told that we love fried chicken when everyone loves fried chicken, but fine. We have to get over that. But some Jewish people can't get over being told that they love money. And then you ask them, hey, do you love money? Yeah, I love money. But don't say that I love money because that's anti-Semitic. Hold on, you love money. I say that you love money. And now I'm anti-Semitic. She said it's all about the Benjamin. She didn't say with Jews it's all about the Benjamin. She was talking about politics in general. And it is true, which is why Elon Musk donated $200 million to Trump. And then you got the Jewish Zionist people came in with another 200 plus million, right? But it is all about the Benjamins. So you see what I'm saying? There's a particular demographic that you literally can't say anything about. One time, I think this was like 2 years ago, Jamie Foxx got on social media and said, they killed Jesus. He didn't say Jews killed Jesus. He said they killed Jesus. They had Jennifer Aniston and other people coming out. Where the hell has Jennifer Aniston been, right? I mean, just ride off into the sunset and collect those Friends residual checks because Jamie Foxx posted and said they killed Jesus. He didn't say Jews. He didn't say Rabbi Shmuley. He didn't say Ben Shapiro. He just said they killed Jesus. A rabid pack of some Jewish people came after him and said, you're anti-Semitic. Kyrie Irving shared a video. He didn't produce the video. It was a video called From Hebrew to Negroes. They said the video was anti-Semitic. He got suspended. They wanted to buck break him and have him donate like a bunch of money to Jewish organizations. Meanwhile, many people in that community are pushing depravity and degeneracy, turning around saying, I got black fatigue. Okay, black fatigue of what? I got black fatigue of seeing women twerking. It's like, bro, you own the media company. Why are you showing that, right? It's just like the people complaining about all these OnlyFans models. Like, bro, why are you even subscribed to them? Why are you whacking off and rubbing one out to an OnlyFans model only to complain about it later? And also, speaking of OnlyFans, what demographic owns that, right? When you look at go look at these XXX sites, whether it be Bang Bros, Cornhub, X Videos, OnlyFans, Cam Soda, Hamster. What demographic owns that, promulgates that? So whose culture is that? Who raised the people that made OnlyFans? Surely it wasn't George Floyd. Definitely wasn't no thuggish dude from Chicago. So again, whose culture is that? But, you know, I went on a tangent, but y'all get my drift. Let's get back into it.
Get a copy of that book. It's really hard.
I think you can order from its publisher right now.
Okay.
Right.
But, I mean, like, why would someone try to suppress
because
a book?
It shows you the true, it takes you right into the secret governance system, and it shows you the primary mechanism by which they implement policy.
Yeah. Well, it's always the things you're not allowed to say are probably the important things, right? I mean, whenever they penalize you for having a thought, you're probably on the right track.
Well, it's one of the critical train tracks of control. So it's what I call the third rail. So I used to finance transit systems and train systems. So, a lot of these systems have two tracks that the wheels go on, and then they have a third rail that the power line runs on. And you get a train trap that flips over and sucks the energy from the third rail. So a lot of the things that really operate the third rail are very invisible. And for example, in central banking, to talk about tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 capital at the BIS and the banks, there's nothing more boring. It's designed to absolutely.
I just fell asleep in the middle of that sentence.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like he just said, it's designed to be boring, mundane, where you say, man, I ain't got time for this. Let me go look up some drama on YouTube. Let me go rub one out to an OnlyFans model. Let me go play some Fortnite or Call of Duty or Hell Divers or whatever that game is called, right? It's supposed to be boring. There's something called infobesity. Look that up, right? It's basically an overload of information. You get so much information at a rapid pace that it's sometimes too overwhelming to deal with and process, that it exhausts you, so that you're just saying, you know what, give me something more easy. I don't want to think about intricate quantum physics and, plots and ploys, that may very well impact your life. Here, let me just put on a good Netflix show. Here, let me do some Netflix and chill, right? So that's what these things are designed to do. And then you wake up 5-10 years later and you're like, where are my rights? What rights? Like George Carlin and others said, you have no rights. You have owners. Like the late, great Dr. Neely Fuller said, we are living in an open air prison. Now, it's a nice and luxurious prison, but a prison nonetheless, because you think that you're free. All right. Well, some people love Russian women. Go try to go to Russia right now and say, yeah, I'm gonna just chill in Russia for 2 months. You feel me? I got me a little baddie in Russia. Try to go to Russia for 2 months and then just come back. I mean, what do you think the government is going to do? Do you think they're just going to say, oh, what were you doing in Russia? Oh, we'll just trust you, bro. Go and try to say, hey, look, man, I'm free. I'm a free person from a free country of America, and I support free Palestine. So I'm going to just go over there. Okay, you think you're free to just do that? And if you do go over there, what are you being faced with? What are you up against over there? So how free are you? Freedom isn't free. And if you're not willing to fight to be free, then they already know that they got you by the balls. Let's commence.
Right.
Is it boring by design?
Well, so I used to finance transit systems and train systems. So, a lot of these systems have 2 tracks that the wheels go on, and then they have a third rail that the power line runs on, and you get a trim trap that flips over and sucks the energy from the third rail. So a lot of the things that really operate the third rail are very invisible. And for example, in central banking, to talk about tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 capital at the BIS and the banks, there's nothing more boring. It's designed to absolutely.
I just fell asleep in the middle of that sentence.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. Right.
Is it boring by design?
Artificial intelligence is taking the world by storm.
The way you're taught to talk about it is boring by design. It's like the mechanisms of the legal system. If you look at the mechanisms of civil procedure or criminal procedure, it can, and you get into the weeds on it, it can be very boring unless you understand the application, and that can make it very interesting.
And thanks for getting that exact quote. If you want to know who controls you, it's whom you can't criticize. From Voltaire. Yeah. And what demographic can't you criticize, right? It's funny because these same people will say the Black community has an accountability problem. Every day is Black people saying Black people need to do this. Black people ain't doing this. Black people ain't shit. It's Black people holding Black people accountable, along with a bunch of non-Black people who don't give a flying fig about the Black community, allegedly holding us accountable. So our own community is holding us accountable with people who are constructively criticizing, and it's a bunch of coons who are tap dancing for clicks. But what people are holding their community accountable and calling out their community by name. See, when I hear white people holding their community accountable, they don't hold their community accountable. They'll say it was the Democrats. They make a political argument more so than a racial argument, right? So if some musty, crusty, dusty nigga who happens to be a Crip, if he does a drive-by, instead of making that an individual argument, they'll make it a racial argument. But if a white Democrat pushes a drone strike that slaughters hundreds of thousands of people, somehow, you can't even mention race. Oh, it's just politics. Okay. I mean, and then they also have convinced you that black people are allegedly so violent, right? Have you seen the violence that's ensuing in the Middle East? Whose culture is that? Who raised Bibi Netanyahu? Was Bibi Netanyahu raised in a fatherless home? Right? People will try to psychoanalyze some poor orphan kid from Chicago or some poor kid from Oakland. But where's the psychoanalysis of Bibi Netanyahu, a genocidal whack job? Wasn't he raised with his parents? Two parents, a silver spoon, getting loved and cuddled by his family, and he still turned out to be a genocidal maniac. So who's really more violent? But they've convinced you a dude who got locked up for selling a quarter eighth of weed is violent thug, but Bibi Netanyahu is pulling the trigger, killing tens of thousands of people, mainly women and children and civilians. People are convinced that Bibi Netanyahu is a squeaky clean politician, and the random dude from Oakland who got locked up for selling fentanyl, he's somehow violent. He didn't do no violence. He was selling drugs to a willing fiend who want to buy the drugs. Okay, fine. You do the crime, you do the time. Why isn't Bibi Netanyahu doing the time for his war crimes? Don't worry. I'll wait.
But the Capitol, most people don't understand the Capitol's, sort of regulatory system. And yeah, it can get, the way you're taught to talk about it is boring by design. It's like the mechanisms of the legal system. If you look at the mechanisms of civil procedure or criminal procedure, it can, and you get into the weeds on it, it can be very boring unless you understand the application, and that can make it very interesting. But the Capitol, most people don't understand the Capitol's, sort of regulatory system. And yeah, it can get very, very boring.
Can you just, for people who haven't seen your previous talk, explain what the control grid is, what it looks like, and what it means?
So the control grid is a process or an infrastructure that allows digital technology to be used to assert phenomenal surveillance and control of people.
Yes.
And at the very heart of it is what I call programmable money.
Okay, I'm going to pause this and then I'm going to rewind it back. It's only 5 more minutes left of this, but this is very pivotal. And I always tell people that we're already in a police and a nanny state, but they're just trying to ramp it up a bit tighter. And they typically use they usually use black people as the mascot. They frame, hey, look, we need more cops and more militarized weapon because we have to go after the niggers. You know what I mean? You don't want a bunch of George Floyds running around, right? But let's just really think about what George Floyd did. Let's just say, okay, he allegedly had a counterfeit bill and he was allegedly high. Okay. How many people have walked around a bunch of high people all day and nothing really happened to them? So in order for us to protect you from a big bad meanie like George Floyd, who could be high off fentanyl, we're going to install surveillance cameras everywhere. And then there's a bunch of people that's like, yeah, man, stick it to those niggers. It's like, bro, they're surveilling you too. They ain't just surveilling us. You know what I mean? So all of the tactics that they used on us is a piece of cake to use on you because they're tried and true. They've already been tested effectively on us. The COINTELPRO, that was happening decades ago. They never stopped. It just evolved into a more sophisticated covert system. They don't even have to announce it because you volunteer and self-snitch on most information. You make their job very easy easy for them. But it just still doesn't stop the surveillance. They're surveilling you with your phone, your social media, those traffic lights. It's not just to catch you running a red light. And then if you do run a red light, that ticket is at least like $400. When the Federal Reserve said 40%, some say 60%, we'll go with the 40% number. They say 40% of Americans, if you are hit with a $400 emergency right now, you wouldn't, you would have to start selling some stuff. There would be some choices to be made, right? So how good are people actually really doing? A lot of people are just getting by paycheck to paycheck, which is why they want to tighten these things up, because the civil unrest is coming. They're actually trying to push people towards that. And, and people will say that this is a conspiracy theory. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But some people talk about the Great Reset, right? And when the Great Reset happens, do you have a bunker? Mark Zuckerberg does. Elon does. You know what I mean? And they've already like been getting the goodies, giveaways, and guarantees for the government. So they got the crypto market. People like, man, I got a bunch of crypto. The same thing, they can tank the crypto market just like they can do the stock market. You gonna be SOL, but guess what? Elon is gonna be good. Jeff Bezos is gonna be good, and they'll usher in a new world order brought to you by the oligarchs, by Miriam Adelson and Bloomberg and all these type of people, right? But you felt good because what? There are more police, you know what I mean? And people are like, hey, well, I ain't doing no crime. If you ain't, so think about this too. People will live in a Lily W neighborhood where no crime is going on. And every year, the cops are whining about crime. Just type in your city right now. I'm sure that the crime is going down, but the complaints about the crime keep going up. Why is that? Because they want more and more money. But I thought you can't throw money at the problem. They always say you can't throw money at the problem unless it's the police. Then they're like, please throw money at the problem and keep throwing money at the problem. No, you guys are failing. Either you're succeeding, which if you're succeeding, you don't need more money for the police budget. If you want to get some raises, hey, y'all can work that out with the union. But like, what do you need more money for? For more tanks, drones, police dogs, all sorts of militarized weapon. But what are they preparing for? The cities that they live in, the murder rate doesn't even crack 10 annually. Right. And these be the main people talking about we need more police because of Chicago. It's like, bro, you live in Wyoming. You live in Utah. Why are you talking about Oakland or St. Louis, a place that you've never been, you don't want to go? And if you did go, you would love it there and have a safe time. So what are we talking about again? Let's get back into it.
What it looks like and what it means.
So the control grid is a process or an infrastructure that allows digital technology to be used to assert phenomenal surveillance and control of people.
Yes.
And at the very heart of it is what I call programmable money. So it's money that is no longer just a currency. It's money that comes with a set of rules that can be surveilled and forced. So imagine back in the pandemic, if your money, if I said, okay, you've got a lockdown and your money won't work if you leave your house. You can't buy gas in your car because your money is programmed with AI and software to enforce a whole set of centralized rules. And programmable money allows the bankers who've been running monetary policy to now control fiscal policy and essentially replace legislatures and executive branch by making and enforcing the rules through the money. Now that requires a large infrastructure of surveillance. So you need digital IDs, and then you need the hardware locally and globally. You need the hardware.
So this is what I want to stop on. Now, do y'all think that all of this stuff is just for traffic stops? Do y'all really think that this is just for people running red lights? And then also, you got to think about this too. Every year they're saying, well, what about Chicago and Oakland, Baltimore, and all this stuff? You think that they don't have this level of surveillance in Baltimore? You think that Oakland doesn't have this level of surveillance? And if they do, why are they always complaining about crime that they are physically watching happening? So if y'all can see where the crime is happening, y'all know the hotbed areas, what are they doing to prevent it? They're not doing anything. They come afterwards and take the report. So are you guys police officers or are you clerks? Are you secretaries? They got all of this militarized weapons, but they don't care. They want people to shoot it out and then they come after and take a report. And most of the times they're not even solving the crimes because they don't care. Oh, it was two niggas who shot each other. Oh, well, you know what I mean? You want some donuts? Let's go get some coffee. And I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it happens a significant amount of the time. Because if they were doing so great in crime, which crime is going down, not mainly due to police, mainly just because, you know, people have other avenues to survive, right? A lot of the street money has dried up, so people have went the legal routes. Now, people are still getting money in the informal economy, but yeah, people are. This is not like the early '80s crack era or the '90s. So crime is going down, yet police keep begging with their hands out saying that they need more money and more surveillance. Is that to stop crime or is that to surveil you? Look at what Eric Snowden said. Eric Snowden told y'all how bad the government was spying on us. But many times they'll let someone put a black face up there and say that, look, you don't want this big black brutish man terrorizing your neighborhood, right? So then we got to put up more cameras and, you know, have more of a police state. But what has that solved? And every year they talk about how they need more police. I'm like, I thought you guys had it covered. You're not stopping crime.
Now that requires a large infrastructure with a set of rules that can be surveilled and enforced. So imagine back in the pandemic, if your money, if I said, okay, you've got to lock down and your money won't work if you leave your house. You can't buy gas in your.
Great question, Charles. That book was by Richard Werner, and Werner is spelled Werner, and it's called The Princes, you know, like the Prince of Persia. This one is called The Princes of Yen, Yen. So check that out. Richard Werner, The Princes of Yen. And apparently that book was banned. So any book that's banned, it's probably a book that you want to read. So yeah, look that up. You may have to go on the dark web or look on some pirated sites. I don't know if they have it on Amazon, but I'm sure you can find it online.
Car, because your money is programmed with AI and software to enforce a whole programmable money. So it's money that is no longer just a currency. It's money that comes with a set of rules that can be surveilled and enforced. So imagine back in the pandemic, if your money, if I said, okay, you've got to lock down and your money won't work if you leave your house. You can't buy gas in your car because your money is programmed with AI and software to enforce a whole set of centralized rules. And programmable money allows the bankers who've been running monetary policy to now control fiscal policy and essentially replace legislatures and executive branch by making and enforcing the rules through the money. Now that requires a large infrastructure of surveillance. So you need digital IDs, and then you need the hardware locally and globally to do the surveillance and implementation. So for example, if you look at the local hardware, and now people are seeing it, you know, now that it's material, they're beginning to see it snap into place. So I don't know if you know flock cameras, but there are many communities across the United States that are entering into contracts paid by the taxpayers to put up cameras all around their neighborhood that track license plates and keep that data and share it with a variety of people. Or you have the FCC is trying to overrule local controls on cell towers, so they can literally put cell towers every 400 to 700 feet so that they can have the kind of invasive surveillance you need. Or you have satellites now that can.
Yeah, so when you see all these cell towers just popping up near that, do you really think that's because they want you to have better service? They said, we don't want you to have to say, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So they want more. And then what is there may be pros to having these towers. What are the cons? Because if these towers were just so productive and, oh my God, they're a must have in your neighborhood, why are there no towers like this in the swanky Lily W neighborhoods? Do you think there's a bunch of cell towers near or in Martha's Vineyard? Don't they have the space and the capacity in Martha's Vineyard to have all these cell towers? But which neighborhoods do you think that most likely these 4G AI centers and cell towers are going to be near, right? They don't want to help the poor, the middle class, the working class in any regards. But hey, we'll give you guys a bunch of cell towers and satellites so we can listen to you easier. Surely that will help you, right? That's what they mean by America first, right? Be the first one to put a bunch of cell towers and satellites so that they can better spy on you, right? Welcome to the techno-feudalistic society.
Literally beam and Wi-Fi so that whether you have Wi-Fi in your home or not, they can start to track you. Infrastructure of surveillance. So you need digital IDs, and then you need the hardware locally and globally to do the surveillance and implementation. So for example, if you look at the local hardware, and now people are seeing it, now that it's material, they're beginning to see it snap into place. So I don't know if you know flock cameras, but there are many communities across the United States that are entering into contracts paid by the taxpayers to put up cameras all around their neighborhood that track license plates and keep that data and share it with a variety of people. Or you have the FCC is trying to overrule local controls on cell towers, so they can literally put cell towers every 400 to 700 feet so that they can have the kind of invasive surveillance you need. Or you have satellites now that can literally beam in Wi-Fi so that whether you have Wi-Fi in your home or not, they can start to track you. And all those systems put you in what I call the panopticon. So
did y'all hear that? Whether you have Wi-Fi in your house or not, they can track you. And some people be like, oh yeah, man, I know, or they can be and do that. So why are you so desensitized to that, right? People will be more worried about, some black dude hundreds of miles away. It's like, bro, there's no thug that looks like George Floyd that's running Palantir, right? There's no thug from Baltimore that's running Starlink, right? Who are the people that are spying on you? See, people will talk about Oakland and St. Louis, bro, you're not from there and you don't plan on going there. But meanwhile, these people could go to Dubai and track you. They can go to Pakistan and track you. They can go to Israel and track you. Which issue or which person do you think you should have more smoke for? The powerless, low IQ thug on the corner, or the highly sophisticated oligarchs and plutocrats that are ruining your life, right? People want to talk about George Floyd and BLM. Is BLM spying on you, right? Is BLM the reason why you can't afford a home? Is George Floyd the reason why you don't have health care? I mean, you gotta wake up, people. Let's get back into it. And like she's saying, you don't even have to have Wi-Fi for them to be able to track you, because they put the cell tower there. They can track you just from your cell. And on top of that, they got the satellites where the satellites study people's gait pattern, how they walk and stuff. So, they can track and say, yeah, based on, this probability, yeah, we know you walk with a little bit of limp, or you had a foot surgery. So is getting ugly. All the stuff you seen on the movies, and shout out to Tutney's FBA all day. But yeah, that was one of the dopest movies. The with Gene Hackman, R.I.P. to the late great, and also Will Smith, Enemy of the State. And that movie, I believe, came out in 1998 or 99, right? So the movie was ahead of its time. But there's been most movies, and this is how they do it. They desensitize you with movies, so you think that, bro, it's just a movie. It's not serious. Where do you think they came up with the idea from the movie? Is a depiction of something that's currently happening, already happened, or will happen in the future, or has already happened in a different part of the world. It's just you may not be privy to that information. But now, before, people would like kind of stand up to this stuff, but now they have weapons of mass distraction to keep you distracted, inebriated, and inundated with chicanery and things that don't really serve a purpose in your life, so that you won't be able to challenge the established order, right? It's more of us than them. Yes, they have the wealth and resources, but we have the greatest resource, which is a human resource. But because all they got to do is show an old fight video of a black dude, you know what I mean, bring up Arena Zaruska or something like that, and then suddenly like you're willing to crash out over an alliance, uh, um, because they did some sort of rage bait and race bait. It's funny, the same people that call people race baiters, as soon as they get race baited, they start chimping out. Ironically, right? That's the terminology they like to use for us. You're chimping out is like, bro, you actually look more like a monkey than me, and you're low impulse control. You're acting like a monkey, jumping out of your body, etc. Right? All over me calling you out on your BS. You know what I mean? But and then they say, why can't we come together? Because you keep calling people to look like me niggers, right? I'm not gonna come together with someone that's saying, we need to unite to stop the war. You agree with me, right, nigger? Like, I mean, was the N bomb necessary? For many, it is. And then they just act confused as to why they can't unite the country, i.e., Nick Fuentes, right? He'll say some good stuff and then he'll call us niggers and then just say, oh, yeah, if the black people wake up to what? Be desensitized to you calling us slurs and epithets? You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we're at with the society. Unfortunately, you know what I mean, people let their petty, petulant differences prevent them from coming together. They're getting puppeteered by the plutocrats and the oligarchs. And this is society at large, not one particular demographic. But see, and I'm being facetious, right, and satirical, but when it comes to the blacks, many buy into the stereotype. We're low IQ, savage, thuggish monkeys with no power, no wealth or infrastructure. Fine. Then that means surely we're not to blame, right? We're too stupid, like Gavin Newsom and other people would say, right? Then on top of that, we have no power. So that would mean there's someone else to blame. That would be the powerful, not the powerless. You said we were low IQ, so that would mean the high IQs are to blame. And then you got to point which demographics are the high IQs. And then those are the people who we need to be scrutinizing, right? If you're looking at a team that's playing in the NFL championship for a Super Bowl and that team loses, who would you blame? You would probably blame the owner. You would probably blame the quarterback and the players that are on the field. You wouldn't blame the water boy. You wouldn't blame the cheerleaders, you wouldn't blame the people who are moving the chains, right? But that's what they try to do to black people. You guys are at the bottom of society. Okay, cool. So that means you really can't blame us for all of this stuff falling apart. We're not in the driver's seat. We're actually in the trunk. And the person in the driver's seat crashes the car, and then you say, blame those niggers in the trunk. Huh? Okay, let's get back into it.
The FCC is trying to overrule local controls on cell towers so they can literally put cell towers every 400 to 700 feet so that they can have the kind of invasive surveillance you need. Or you have satellites now that can literally beam in Wi-Fi so that when
Yikes. Are you kidding me? I want that book even more now. If somebody could get me that book, The Princess of Yin by Richard Werner, I ain't paying 674 for that, man. Hell to the no, no, no. And if y'all plan on buying that book, just send me the 674 instead.
you have Wi-Fi in your home or not, they can start to track you. And all those systems put you in what I call the panopticon. So we saw in the Middle East with the first war with Iran, we saw 11 leaders out of 12 sort of top leaders in science and government assassinated because they're literally tracking everyone, and they can identify them and track them. And then you have invisible weaponry that can then take them out, or, can identify missile strikes. So
let me ask you about, so you're talking about the 12-day war against Iran in June of 2025.
Correct.
We were led to believe, just as newspaper readers or news consumers, that those 11 Iranian officials were targeted with human intelligence, that Israel had spies inside of Iran, but you're saying that was done digitally.
I would assume that that's probably true, because you always want to get human confirmation of what the systems are telling you. It's always better if you have both. But we are now moving into building out the kind of surveillance systems that can literally track, identify, and integrate with not only our existing weaponry, but ultimately autonomous weaponry.
You're not going to believe what happened. Tell me everything. I'll show you on Monday.com. So I started the biggest.
So anyway, so let me step back. You've got three parts to the control grid. One is the local hardware.
So, like she said, the autonomous weapons. What is an autonomous weapon? A robot dog, a drone, all sorts of other robotic warfare. Who do you think they're going to try those on first? They're going to be tried on domestic people. They're going to go to a black community and push the what about Chicago and Oakland and St. Louis rhetoric. Then once they perfect using the robot dogs, which they've already used on a brother who was, went on a deranged spree and, he shot some cops. And they said, hey, we're going to send in this robot dog, to get him up out of here, right? And people were like, hey, well, he deserved it. Why didn't he comply? But all they were really doing was saying, okay, cool. What are the kinks and the imperfections and flaws that we can use to make this robot dog a more efficient killing machine? So imagine you got to fight off hella iRobots, and then they send in the infantry, but then they may never even send one in because they send in a bunch of robot dogs. Okay, he got through that. Then they send in some drones. Okay, he got through that. Then they can just pelt you with a bunch of chemical. They can hit you with rubber bullets and then throw in those smoke grenades, flash bangs. So they have a lot of options to hit you with. But like this woman is talking about, they are pushing towards more autonomous warfare where all that they're doing are pushing a button and remote controlling all of the destruction. And they say this makes them safer because they don't really got to get their hands dirty. They just pushing a button. They don't get their hands dirty, but you get slaughtered in the process. So who is this good for? How is that good? It's good because they're going to stop crime. And then, okay, cool. Like, are you saying that they're that incompetent? They're so weak at their job that they can't stop crime without robots and drones? What are they training for, right? They get a lot of time in at the range, but yet they're trained to, not shoot to stop, but to shoot to kill. Okay, well, just say that, you know what I mean? You guys are training to be John Wick, right? They're not training to de-escalate. As soon as they pull out their gun, any little thing could get them to say that they fear for their life, right? If you're scared, go to church. And them getting more militarized weapons just proves that they're scared. They got shields, bulletproof tanks. Like, how much more stuff do they need? And I'm being rhetorical with these questions. They need as much as the public will allow them to have. When is the dominant society, and I'm speaking to all of the beautiful white people and even the foolish white people as well, because y'all say this is a white Christian nation. Y'all don't say that this is a mixed Christian nation. It's a white Christian nation. So that means if you guys are in the driver's seat and you're at the helm, that means you need to take responsibility for this train going off the rails, right? George Floyd is not here to blame. MLK is not here to blame. Obama, who is a tether, this ain't on him. Let's get back into it. And Obama agrees with all this stuff, by the way, because both parties are the same. Two cheeks on the same booty, two fangs on the same viper.
Surveillance systems that can literally track, identify, and integrate with not only our existing weaponry, but ultimately autonomous weaponry. So anyway, so let me step back. You've got three parts to the control grid. One is the local hardware and infrastructure, and that includes the data centers. Because if you...
The data? I thought those were for AI.
They are. Because if you look at what it takes to apply the equivalent of...
And those data centers, they put one in Memphis, and the output, they're poisoning many of the citizens over there, but it's predominantly black people. So they're like, who cares? No one cares what happens to those niggers. But if you try to put an AI center in one of these Lily W communities, they would be outraged. So I thought we were all created equal. We were all God's children, right? And y'all don't want affirmative action or DEI or preferential treatment. Unless when it comes to AI centers, then no, don't put those in my neighborhood. Put it over there with the poors or the others or the colored people, right? Okay. I mean, what is Christian about that? What is pro-life about that? They don't care about pro-life, especially when that life isn't white, unfortunately.
That can literally track, identify, and integrate with not only our existing weaponry, but ultimately autonomous weaponry. So anyway, so let me step back. You've got three parts to the control grid. One is the local hardware and infrastructure, and that includes the data centers. Because if you...
The data? I thought those were for AI.
They are. Because if you look at what it takes to apply the equivalent of a social credit system to people's money, so the social credit system I apply to you is different than the one I apply to me. And if you look at the data I need to track you and test whether or not you're following the rules I've given you and enforce those rules, it's an explosive amount of data, particularly because you're looking not just at financial control, but spatial control. So what is AI good at, Tucker? AI is
spatial control, movement control?
Yeah, so turn off the car. So Congressman Massey is trying to kill the kill switch in your car. That's because spatial control means I can turn off your car, or I can set it so your money won't work more than...
So I know there's a lot of people that you riding clean. Some of y'all riding dirty and clean. And you got a lot of the new bells and whistles on your car. But the more bells and whistles that you have, it's convenient, it's cool. And you know what? I'm going to start investing into more old school classic cars just because I love those cars. But, if something breaks down, you can just get up under there and fix it yourself. These new cars, they're designed to break down quicker because they want to continuously make money. And sometimes they make the parts where you have to take them in, and they require specialized tools. Many of them have all sorts of electronic components and gadgets that these people have access to that they can digitally alter or hack. And like this woman is saying here, when you have a kill switch, right? You think that that kill switch is just for you, right? If someone tries to steal my car, there's a kill switch that won't allow them to get far. But if you know, forbid, that this happens to you, but if you're in a situation where you need to get away from a tyrannical enforcement body, they can turn your car off at any time. Pull over the car. Remember, they used to say, pull over to the right, please. Nah, they'll pull you over. They could. I'm not saying that they will, but I'm saying they could. They already have these things that they kind of could shoot into your car where it can fry your electronics, either or at least glitch or disable them. These are things that you've seen in movies decades ago. Remember that movie RoboCop? How old is that movie RoboCop? So if they thought about a RoboCop then, you think they haven't created a better version of the theatrical RoboCop that they made in the 80s? So it's like, people got to wake up and, stop looking at the petty stuff, you know what I mean? And mind you, none of this is being run by some low IQ, low impulse thug. So who really is the threat to your freedom and safety? You don't live in a bad neighborhood. You have no threat to get robbed. Your car's not going to get jacked or anything like that. But you are being surveilled, you know. And what type of future is going to be left for your kids? Many of you can't afford a home, but you think your kid is going to be able to afford one? Elon Musk will be able to. Jeff Bezos' kids will be able to. Mark Zuckerberg's kids will be able to. Barron Trump will be able to. And meanwhile, 20 years later, people will still be talking about BLM burned down cities. I'm like, bro, do you own a home yet? No, but you're still talking about George Floyd. Okay. Hope that works out for you.
A mile from your home or a 15-minute city. So you're not allowed to leave your 15-minute city, and your transportation and your money won't work outside of that area. So let me step back. So what is following the rules I've given you and enforce those rules? It's an explosive amount of data, particularly because you're looking not just at financial control, but spatial control. So what is AI good at, Tucker? AI is
spatial control, movement control.
Yeah. So turn off the car. So Congressman Massey is trying to kill the kill switch in your car. That's because spatial control means I can turn off your car, or I can set it so your money won't work more than a mile from your home or a 15-minute city. So you're not allowed to leave your 15-minute city, and your transportation and your money won't work outside of that area. So let me step back. So what is AI good at? AI is very good at tracking things that can be expressed mathematically. And financial transactions and spatial movement can be expressed mathematically. And so what the AI centers are for primarily is to build that digital control grid and to manage that data. So, and now it can be used for many other purposes too. So it's not just going to be used for control. But to me, that's the primary purpose. And that, if you look at the cameras, if you look at the cell towers, if you look at the satellites, and then the AI, the data centers, those are all component pieces of the local hardware. So there are three sort of pillars that I track. One is the programmable money, and that's what we at Solari are trying to stop. The second is the digital ID, because you need digital ID systems that are interoperable globally, and then the local hardware. And those are sort of the three pillars. And what's interesting is there's phenomenal development of all three. We have a commentary at Solari where we track, it's called the Fast Approaching Digital Control Grid. And every week we update all the things that are being done to build those three pillars and have them integrate with each other. And ever since the inauguration, it's been moving very, very quickly.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this one down and get ready to pull up another video. I thought that was a a good video. You won't hear that on the lamestream media. And actually, we are going to play a video from the lamestream media and see the difference in the coverage. Okay. So this one is actually going to be from MS Now, formerly known as MSNBC. But I'm playing this from, there's a channel where the dude just goes and clips up uh, these panel discussions and interviews. And this dude's name is Robert Davis. So salute to him, because I don't know if I could stomach listening to these people, the full video. So let me just pull this video up right now. So this is on Robert Davis's channel. And it's titled MS Now Panel Goes Off the Rails as MAGA Republican Defends Trump's Latest War. So we're going to get into this, and let's see what the lamestream media's coverage looks like.
On strikes. Then on Tuesday, the Trump administration is scheduled to brief the rest of the House and Senate. That comes as Congressman Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie are making a bipartisan push for a vote on their war powers bill this week. But most Republicans, including our next guest, have welcomed Trump's strikes on Iran with or without that vote. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna of Florida joins us now. She is an Air Force veteran and serves on the Oversight and Foreign Affairs Committees. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I just want to start by saying I think we all agree.
I'm surprised with this lady. I don't know. You know how they say it's giving? I don't know. Is it giving Congress person to you or something else? Let's see.
Pretty much everyone around the world, except for maybe a few, agree that it is a good thing that Ayatollah Khamenei is no longer in power. The real question is, why should the American people have confidence?
So when they say it's a good thing that the Iranian supreme leader is no longer in power, who is it good for? Like right now, have your interest rates changed? Could you afford a house? Did gas get any cheaper? Is college tuition any cheaper? Are diapers cheaper? So when she says that it's a good thing that this Iranian leader, who people didn't even know who he was, good for who?
That what comes next will not be another forever war and will ultimately result in a better leadership, a better regime for both the Iranian people, who deserve as much, and better for U.S. security.
And don't worry, I'll rewind it back. But of course, I have to pause and give my commentary. But when she says what the Iranian people deserve, right? They didn't deserve to have their supreme leader assassinated. And as much as they want to say, oh, he was a brutal dictator and he was violent, you mean like the U.S. presidents, right? Okay, is he any more violent than Obama, drone striking people? Is he any more violent than Trump, drone striking his second in command when he was in his first term, right? Is he any more violent than Bush and his genocidal warmongers who presided over 1 million Iraqi deaths? Right. But of course, we want to make Iran is the big bad boogeyman. You mean worse than us? Like, come on. They call that's what they call the pot calling the kettle black. And I'm not saying that this dude was some angelic figure. Of course he's not. But neither are you. So he's not an angel and you're not. So why are you judging him? Oh, because of what you heard and alleged that he did. But where's the proof? It's just someone who has a known history of lying told you that, right? You know this person has been lying, i.e. Trump, but you believe everything he says about this Iranian leader. You know that this establishment loves war, right? But you think that they're telling the truth. They lied about the weapons of mass destruction, and all they said afterwards was, oops, my bad. And most of them didn't even say that. 99% of them didn't even say my bad. They're just like, hey, well, it is what it is.
By saying, I think we all agree, pretty much everyone around the world, except for maybe a few, agree that it is a good thing that Ayatollah Khamenei is no longer in power. The real question is, why should the American people have confidence that what comes next will not be another forever war and will ultimately result in a better leadership, a better regime for both the Iranian people who deserve as much and better for U.S. security?
Well, first of all, I want to clarify for the American people and make it very clear that after speaking to the White House, after speaking directly to the Secretary of State, that it is not the intent or the position or the directive of this administration to put boots on the ground in Iran. The result of the strikes were due to intelligence that was picked up on two fronts. One, in the southern belt of Iran, there was actually direct threat aimed at our strategic locations over there for our service members.
And this is why it was idiotic for her to say, oh, well, we're not trying to put boots on the ground. Whether you put boots on the ground or not, the U.S. is already involved. There's multiple. The U.S. has over 750 military bases across the globe, right? And they have many of them in the Middle East. So there's already boots on the ground. So those people are sitting ducks. And unfortunately, they hang many U.S. citizens out to dry and put them. There's not people like, do you think Trump's kids are going to join the military? Do you think Mark Zuckerberg's kids are going to join the military? Do you think Elon Musk's kid are going to join the military? So they love to have these people. And this is why they don't want to change the conditions in the inner city or the urban area, because they rely on those kids being disenfranchised, desolate, and destitute. And they can say, join the army, son. And what, right? Many of those army people are getting between 30K to 50K to go out there and risk their life. Meanwhile, and shout out to Jason Black, he talked about how mercenary people who they framed as security directors, you working for like, I think is it Blackwater for Eric Prince. Those mercenaries are getting like 100 to 200K to run out and be rogue mercenaries like Frank Castle or something like that. Meanwhile, the people who are marching and yes, sir, yes, sir, sir, yes, sir. You know what I mean? Doing all of these salutes, those people are barely making. I mean, you got OnlyFans models making more than someone who's serving their country, right? How is that a glowing endorsement? Well, you're fighting for something bigger than you, right? Okay. Nah, I want to be comfortable like those politicians. I want to be comfortable like Pete Buttigieg and Cory Booker, right? Do you think, I know Pete Buttigieg, he adopted a kid. When that kid grows older, you think he's going to push that kid to fight in the military? No. So as much as all these people say, oh, we need this war, okay, fine. How about you go fight in those wars then? They don't want to fight it. And this is another reason why they want to flood the country with immigrants, but mainly want many of them coming here illegally so they can be in this limbo status of undocumented illegal alien status. And they can say, hey, well, you know what? We can send you back, or I do have a proposition for you. If you want expedited citizenship, hey, just go fight in our forever wars. If you die, then they gonna say, hey, niggas die every day, B. And if you don't die, then they're like, oh, okay, cool. You've proven to be a model minority. You know what I mean? So instead of 50K, we'll give you a no interest VA loan to get a house. And you still may not be a citizen, but they're like, who cares if you're a citizen? You have a house. You know what I mean? So this is very persuasive and enticing for a lot of people, especially if you want to get citizenship as a non-citizen. And if you're poor and you're like, look, I don't really have an outlet. What they say, you either slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot, or join the army, bucko. Let's get back into it.
speaking to the White House, after speaking directly to the Secretary of State, that it is not the intent or the position or the directive of this administration to put boots on the ground in Iran. The result of the strikes were due to intelligence that was picked up on two fronts. One, in the southern belt of Iran, there was actually direct threat aimed at our strategic locations over there for our service members, as well as the negotiations not being done in good faith in regards to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner regarding ending the nuclear enrichment program, which the president and Congress have both been in alliance with, ensuring that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. And so the U.S. government had actually offered permanent nuclear fuel so that they could have clean energy. That was denied by the regime. And these strikes that you're seeing now currently take place are actually a result of a kill switch, if you will, plan that was put in place by the former leadership in Iran to basically ensure that there would be the most civilian damage if their leadership was taken out. That was called the Nazir Plan. And so what you're seeing right now, and as the president has stated earlier today, it will be up to the Iranian people to decide to build up their own infrastructure. But you did see recently, this past afternoon, that Iranian leadership currently has reached out to the White House, and we are waiting on an update from the White House to see what the contents of that call will be.
Congresswoman, can I ask you, what is the legal basis that you understand this president has to launch this war?
Well, his Article 2 authorities actually give him the powers to protect our troops, our citizens, if imminent threat is basically we are facing it as a country. What I will also state, though, is that the Iranian regime.
So these are the word games that they like to play. What imminent threat was Iran posing to you, right? They want you to think that Iran is a more imminent threat than Peter Thiel and Palantir surveilling on you. There wasn't the supreme leader Ayatollah spying on you. Then people will say it's a degenerate society and OnlyFans and all that stuff. You think the Iranian people are running the OnlyFans site and pushing all this depraved, debaucherous Cornhub videos? You think that's the Iranian Middle East people doing that? Do you think it was the Iranian government who opened the border and flooded it with millions and millions of people? That wasn't Iran, right? All the people saying America first. You know how we'll show that we're American first? We'll bomb Iran. Huh? People are talking about healthcare. People are saying the gas is too expensive. People saying they can't afford to put their kids through college. But somehow bombing Iran for Israel will help Americans? Okay. Keep telling yourself that. Let's get back into it.
To see what the contents of that call will be.
Congresswoman, can I ask you, what is the legal basis that you understand this president has to launch this war?
Well, his Article 2 authorities actually give him the powers to protect our troops, our citizens, if imminent threat is basically we are facing it as a country. What I will also state, though, is that the Iranian regime did make an assassination attempt on the president. The CIA director actually came out, I think it was either today or yesterday, and actually talked about that. And the president was still willing to negotiate with them in terms of ending their nuclear enrichment program. And so just imagine what would have happened if they were successful in assassinating our president. And I'm sure your network and you're not advocating for that.
So they're over there saying that Iran is the bully, but they told Iran, you better not have no nuclear weapons. And they said, fine, we won't have any ones. And Israel has nuclear weapons that they're lying about, right? Who really sounds like the bully? The one who said, I don't have any nuclear weapons and I won't have one. And the one that does have weapons that everyone knows, but they're lying about. Not only that, how dangerous could Iran be? Why is the U.S. government and its cronies and buck-broken bozos keep lying? They said that they destroyed their nuclear capacity. They said that they ensured that they assassinated their nuclear leaders. Like I said, the nuclear scientists are not just born or just falling off trees, right? You don't just birth one and then suddenly they're a nuclear scientist, right? So if they took out the nuclear scientists and they took out the alleged nuclear sites, where is the threat from Iran? It's just kind of like the cops here. Every year they're complaining about crime. You look at the numbers. Oh, crime is going down. No, but it's so bad. So we got to keep talking about crime. We can't defund the police. We got to refund the police. But y'all got millions and millions and millions. And other police budgets, some are getting billions, right? How much more money do you need? You know?
Out, I think it was either today or yesterday, and actually talked about that. And the president was still willing to negotiate with them in terms of ending their nuclear enrichment program. And so just imagine what would have happened if they were successful in assassinating our president. And I'm sure your network and you're not advocating for that.
So, Congresswoman, are you saying?
And Iran shouldn't have never did that. They should have had a nuclear weapon, just like North Korea. People don't think that North Korea is as sophisticated in terms of, innovation, in terms of the Iranians. That's a debate, but universally, no one accepts that. But why are people not trying to invade North Korea? Because they think that Kim Jong-un is a deranged psychopath. And oh yeah, he has some nukes and he ain't afraid to use it, right? He will saber rattle and people be like, oh man, he bluffing. Yeah, he might be bluffing, but all it takes is one and done. If Israel gets hit with one nuke, they're done. But Iran, they were doing everything. They weren't just bending over. They were bending over, getting on the knees and spreading cheeks. That's how buck broken the Iranian government has been, because they were being docile. And I think it was a survival mechanism. Some of it may have been cowardice, but some of them may have been pragmatism, where they're saying, look, man, we know that we can't go against the Israeli government and its big brother, the U.S. government, right? So they did everything to kowtow and capitulate to Israel, and it still wasn't enough because it's being run by some bloodthirsty, genocidal maniacs over there. And unfortunately, we're all just along for the ride, and they've convinced you that somehow this is America first. Is this MAGA or MIGA? Making Israel great again?
Is basically we are facing it as a country. What I will also state, though, is that the Iranian regime did make an assassination attempt on the president. The CIA director actually came out, I think it was either today or yesterday, and actually talked about that. And the president was still willing to negotiate with them in terms of ending their nuclear enrichment program. And so just imagine what would have happened if they were successful in assassinating our president. And I'm sure your network and you're not advocating for that.
So, Congresswoman, are you saying that it went into the decision to invade Iran, to attack Iran, to decapitate their leadership, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump? So this was personal and about him.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
No, that is not what I'm saying. But I am answering the question that he posed as what authorities is he given? That's the Article 2 authority if there's direct threat against our service members or our citizens, which, as I outlined earlier, the southern portion of Iran in that belt region actually had imminent threat with their short-range missiles to our base, in addition to their nuclear enrichment program, of which they were not negotiating in good faith. So it was multifaceted. And
So all of these is what I call baby bop, brain dead, bimbo babble. She's saying that they weren't negotiating in good faith, but Israel was. Israel was going around trying to punk people and bully them. What is good faith about that? Then she keeps talking about how these U.S. troops faced an imminent threat. What threat? The Iranian government wouldn't dare harm the U.S. citizens or U.S. soldiers unprovoked. So here she is lying, and this is what they want. They hit the Iran, and then if they don't, then they say, look, your leadership is too feckless and pathetic, and then it becomes a mutiny inside of Iran and Tehran, or the Iranian government say, okay, you want to play rough, right? And then they start dropping these cluster bombs and things like that. And then the Israel say, see, we're victims. And, then they want the big bro government to come pull out all the stops. It's like, no, Israel, you want to be the king of the Middle East? Fight your own battles. Hold your own nuts. They talk about the Holy Land and all this stuff. Would anyone want their kids to sign up to go die for Israel? Okay, let's get back into it.
I am answering the question that he posed as what authorities is he given? That's the Article 2 authority if there's direct threat against our service members or our citizens, which, as I outlined earlier, the southern portion of Iran in that belt region actually had imminent threat with their short-range missiles to our base, in addition to their nuclear enrichment program, of which they were not negotiating in good faith. So it's multifaceted. And as you are seeing now, they have fired back. They struck. We have now lost 3 military service members. There are multiple wounded. And again, it is not the intention of the U.S. government to invade. That is not what is happening. These are isolated, strategic, large-scale attacks. But again, there are
more lies, more baby bop, brain dead, bimbo babble. She said it's not the U.S. intention to invade as they invaded, right? It's like you broke into someone's house. Well, it wasn't my intention to break into my house, though. Why the hell are you here? Get the fuck out of my house then.
fired back. They struck. We now lost 3 military service members. There are multiple wounded. And again, it is not the intention of the U.S. government to invade. That is not what is happening. These are isolated, strategic, large-scale attacks. But again, there are negotiations that will take place, or at least open communication with the White House as soon as the president decides that he is willing or ready to talk. And that has developed in the last couple of hours. So that update will come hopefully later on this evening.
I'm sorry, you say it's not the intention of the U.S. government to invade? Did we not just invade?
We are not invading. Are you seeing boots on the ground there? Because I'm not. And I've been told directly by the State Department and the White House that that's not the intention.
I mean, we just killed the leader of the country. That's not... Okay.
Targeted strategic military strikes and invasions are 2 totally different things, according to military
terminology. They're calling it a war. The president has called it a war.
And targeted airstrikes
strategic strikes, and according to the White House, and I just talked to them and talked to the Secretary of State, strategic.
See, and this is why a lot of people don't respect politicians. Just call it what it is. The president calls it a war. And she said, well, it wasn't an invasion and it was just strategic strikes. Yeah, they actually invaded the land. Are these people Middle Eastern? Are these people Iranian? What the hell are they doing over there? So someone's in your house and you're like, bro, I'm not invading. I'm not breaking and entering. Then why the hell are you over here? And then she's trying to frame it as something that, oh, it's not a war. It's a dilemma. It's a conflict. Well, the president said it was a war. He's the leader of the free land, right? Which is an oxymoron. But yeah, Trump said it's a war. So this little baby Bob Bimbo is just trying to obfuscate and run cover, but I don't think it's going to go the way she anticipates.
It's not. Okay.
Targeted strategic military strikes and invasions are 2 totally different things, according to military terminology.
They're calling it a war. The president has called it a war.
And targeted airstrikes.
Strategic strikes, and according to the White House, and I just talked to them and talked to the Secretary of State, strategic strikes are not war.
Really? So if someone bombed America,
do you see boots on the ground?
War?
Did y'all hear that? Strategic strikes are not war?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay.
I mean, we just killed the leader of the country. That's not... Okay.
Targeted strategic military strikes and invasions are 2 totally different things, according to military terminology.
They're calling it a war. The president has called it a war.
And targeted airstrikes.
Strategic strikes, strategic strikes, and according to the White House, and I just talked to them and talked to the Secretary of State, strategic strikes are not war.
Really? So if someone bombed America,
do you see boots on the ground?
War? That makes no sense.
To the White House, and I just talked to them and talked to the Secretary of State, strategic strikes are not war.
Strategic strikes are not war. Hey, I gotta hit it.
Hope, please. Nigga, please. Hope.
Nigga, what?
Nigga. Nigga, please. Nigga, please. What?
Really? So if someone bombed America,
do you see boots on the ground?
War? That makes no sense. So you're saying it has to be boots on the ground?
According to your own by definition,
so that's your standard.
The regime of Iran has killed thousands of Americans and murdered them. So by definition, they've already declared war on the United States.
I know. I've had GI missiles raining down on me too. I know how terrible the Iranian regime is.
What thousands of Americans has this dude killed? They keep saying that he's responsible for killing thousands of Americans. Okay, let's just say that he was. If they're crediting him for thousands of Americans, then we must credit Bush with millions of dead Iraqis. We also must credit Obama for killing U.S. citizens in those grotesque drone strikes. No, it wasn't the people who pushed the button. It was Obama, right? Just like Adolf. Did Adolf physically kill 6 million J people? We know that it's physically impossible. Did he even kill one? Was it 2? Was it 20? Was it 200? You don't know, but you give him credit for 6 million J people. Fine, give him the credit. That means Bush gets the credit for the 1 million, and Obama and Trump death toll is in the hundreds of thousands, right? But tell me about how violent George Floyd is again.
You're not debating that they are a truly terrible regime. What we're talking about is the standard for the commander-in-chief to commit our sons and daughters in the military to war, and going to war when it is in the national interest and making that.
When she say our sons and daughters, who the hell is she even talking about? Right? Because anyone on this panel, do you think that their kids are going to be selected in the military? Do you think that they're going to push them to sit at an office desk behind the CNN table, or that they're going to push them to war? So like when you saying our children and we.
Who is we? Who is we?
Who the hell is she talking about?
I know. I've had GI missiles raining down on me too. I know how terrible the Iranian regime is. We are not debating that they are a truly terrible regime. What we're talking about is the standard for the commander-in-chief to commit our sons and daughters in the military to war, and going to war when it is in the national interest and making that case to America and going to Congress and getting approval for war. So you are saying this is a limited mission that is only bomb strikes. So there is no congressional authorization necessary. How is this different from when Joe Biden bombed the Houthi rebels in Yemen without congressional authorization, and you oppose that?
There is a direct and imminent threat, I just stated, to American forces, and I outlined that both 2 cases, in addition to the nuclear enrichment, which is, by the way,
She didn't outline anything. She started babbling incoherently, right? But she said that there was an imminent threat. What is the imminent threat? Her just saying it, right?
Joe Biden bombed the Houthi rebels in Yemen without congressional authorization, and you oppose that.
There is a direct and imminent threat, I just stated, to American forces, and I outlined that both 2 cases, in addition to the nuclear enrichment, which is, by the way, bipartisanly supported. The U.S. Congress is against Iran having that program. I will firmly back the president. Secondly, what the president has been very specific.
So they'll say that we're not the world's police, and then we go around policing the world. Even the term, the leader of the free world, if the world is free, how the fuck are you the leader of it? Right? And then there's a bunch of brain dead bozos and wackos that somehow think that bombing Iran is actually America first. Like, okay, what billionaire oligarch or Zionist told you that?
An imminent threat I just stated to American forces, and I outlined that both two cases, in addition to the nuclear enrichment, which is, by the way, bipartisanly supported. The U.S. Congress is against Iran having that program. I will firmly back the president. Secondly, what the president has been very specific about is that we will not put boots on the ground there, period. Case closed. We will not vote on having a war with Iran because as of right now, according to the plan, which I won't say too much on television, but according to the three objectives that this administration outlined, everything is going according to plan. And so if you are asking me whether or not I support what the president.
So McDowell says she's basically explaining that our government has been doing a lot of illegal stuff when it comes to dealing with foreign policies without getting any permission from anyone else, that God or UN. The UN is just a lapdog of the US. So the UN is kind of feckless and pathetic, right? Just like when they said the US was committing a plausible genocide. Was it a genocide or not? Why are you adding these qualifying words to kind of soften the blow, right? Imagine someone got sexually assaulted and they say it was a plausible sexual assault. Were they sexually assaulted or not? So why the fuck are you saying it was plausible? They watch a genocide where they see babies getting their limbs chopped off with no anesthesia and like, oh yeah, it's a plausible genocide. No, it's a fucking genocide. That's what it is.
Has done, I do. And that both two cases, in addition to the nuclear enrichment, which is, by the way, bipartisanly supported, the U.S. Congress is against Iran having that program. I will firmly back the president. Secondly, what the president has been very specific about is that we will not put boots on the ground there, period. Case closed. We will not vote on having a war with Iran because as of right now,
Another lie. We won't put boots on the ground. However, the U.S. has over 750 military bases across the globe. Many of them are in the Middle East. That means boots are already on the ground. What the fuck is she talking about?
supported, the U.S. Congress is against Iran having that program. I will firmly back the president. Secondly, what the president has been very specific about is that we will not put boots on the ground there, period. Case closed. We will not vote on having a war with Iran because as of right now, according to the plan, which I won't say too much on television, but according to the three objectives that this administration outlined, everything is going according to plan. And so if you are asking me whether or not I support what the president has done, I do. You just stated that the act of war would be if Americans were being killed. You said, what if a bomb went off in the United States, right? For over 40 years, the Iranian government and regime has been responsible for the deaths of thousands upon thousands of Americans, not to mention state-sponsored terrorism. And so did the president do the right thing? Has he been consistent in this? Absolutely.
Where, can you just tell me really quickly, where have they killed thousands of Americans in America?
I didn't say they killed thousands of Americans in America. I said that they have been responsible for thousands of Americans being killed. And I think that that's easily something that you can verify. I don't know, state-sponsored terrorism for starters. Are you serious?
Are you kidding me? And y'all gonna hear that framing a lot. State-sponsored terrorism. State-sponsored terrorism. I guess it's almost like a tongue twister, like Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. State-sponsored terrorism. Try to say that 3 times fast, right? Why does she keep talking about state-sponsored terrorism when it comes to Iran, but she doesn't talk about the state-sponsored terrorism from Israel, who's being run by a gang of genocidal nut jobs, right? So let's just play this. The dude asked her a very simple question. You keep saying that the Iranian regime is just this barbaric, heinous cohort, right? And that they've killed thousands and thousands of Americans. Okay, fine. When? And then he said, when did they kill them in America? Then she pivoted and said, well, I didn't say that. I said that they were responsible. Okay, cool. They were responsible for thousands of Americans dying. When and where? Oh, well, you can just look it up. But you're a congressperson pretending that you have the expertise. Why you can't just spout it off, right? You know what I mean? And people always like to do that. They'll reference something and then, hey, just look it up, bro. I thought you already looked it up. I thought that you had a superior IQ. So I'm going to defer to your knowledge and acumen unless you're saying that it was overstated. And if that's the case, then you're a liar and a poser, which I have to call you out about.
Absolutely.
Can you just tell me really quickly, where have they killed thousands of Americans in America?
Everything is going according to plan. And so if you are asking me whether or not I support what the president has done, I do. You just stated that the act of war would be if Americans were being killed. You said, what if a bomb went off in the United States, right? For over 40 years, the Iranian government and regime has been responsible for the deaths of thousands upon thousands of Americans, not to mention state-sponsored terrorism. And so did the president do the right thing? Has he been consistent in this? Absolutely.
Can you just tell me really quickly, where have they killed thousands of Americans in America?
I didn't say they killed thousands of Americans in America. I said that they have been responsible for thousands of Americans being killed. And I think that that's easily something that you can verify. I don't know, state-sponsored terrorism for starters. Are you serious right now about that whole thing? I'm not going to list out exact specific locations they've literally been responsible for sponsored terrorism.
Are you talking about the Iraq war where the U.S. invaded?
Shout out to McDowell. This is a kind of underrated comment. It said the president knows that America's history with boots on the ground does not work. They're not good at guerrilla warfare. Do y'all remember Vietnam? And shout out to Muhammad Ali, because they was trying to send him over there. And Muhammad Ali said, I ain't going over there. They never called me nigger. The irony is that the Vietnamese people in Vietnam didn't call Muhammad Ali nigger, but then when many of them started to immigrate here, then he got called a nigger. Oh, shucks. But either way, he stood on business and said, no, that's right. That's wrong to go over there and fight those people in their homeland. But they went over there with the Viet Cong and thought it was going to be a walk in the park. And they got packed up and got up out of there. And some people, like, one thing, you got to give it to the Russian people, even though their forces are not as mighty, or let's just say they have nukes. So they are tempering their response. However, they do have a history of having boots on the ground. When you look at the H cost, right? It was many Russians who went over there fighting the Germans. So they've had a history of actually being on the field, like the Russian Spetsnaz and stuff like that. So the U.S., how they have got more effective with their killing, and some would call it cowardly, right? But it all depends on how you look at it, right? Now, you look at these movies that you might love, the 300, this is Sparta, right? Them days are over, right? Leonidas, you know what would have happened to Leonidas? They would have drone struck him. Leonidas with his shield and his spear, somebody would have dome tapped him, would have buried 50 cal. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to the boots on the ground, the U.S. may, I'll give them credit and say that they're not no slouch, but they have good preparation, but they don't have a lot of real time action in the field, right? They do a lot of simulation, but assimilation is not the real thing, right? So this is why they rely on, like the video I played earlier, where they rely on autonomous warfare. So even if a country has more manpower, the U.S. is going to pride itself on having more autonomous firepower, right? So y'all may have 100,000 soldiers, but we have 2 B-2 jet fighters that will come and drop a bomb and decimate the entire country, right? So while the U.S. may not be good at boots on the ground, they are devastating at shock and awe, autonomous warfare. And that's where it's leading to. Some of these other countries, they have no choice but to say, hey, fight me like a man, fight me head up, let's squabble up. But the U.S. is saying, man, I ain't trying to squabble up. The U.S. is I say that they're more like a technological nuclear ninja, right? You know how a ninja uses covert weaponry and, a lot of sneak attacks. That's what the U.S. does. You know what I mean? A lot of sneak attacks and autonomous attacks, just like pushing a button. You waiting outside. Hey, come outside, bro. Let's shoot the fade 1-on-1. You feel me? Let's duke it out. And they're like, nope, I'm gonna stay in the house and I'm gonna click the switch and my robot dog is going to shoot you. You know what I mean? So modern warfare, welcome to it.
That you could start out by what if a bomb went off in the United States, right? For over 40 years, the Iranian government and regime has been responsible for the deaths of thousands upon thousands of Americans, not to mention state-sponsored terrorism. And so did the president do the right thing? Has he been consistent in this? Absolutely.
Where, can you just tell me really quickly, where have they killed thousands of Americans in America?
I didn't say they killed thousands of Americans in America. I said that they have been responsible for thousands of Americans being killed. And I think that that's easily something that you can verify. I don't know, state-sponsored terrorism for starters. Are you serious right now about that whole thing? I'm not going to list out exact
no, I mean, just give me,
are you talking about terrorism.
Are you talking about the Iraq war where the U.S. invaded?
You can start out by the three that they just killed. Okay, the whole point of your network, if you want to actually talk about the facts here, I'm giving you the facts. But I'm not going to sit here and argue with you.
So he's asking her he's asking her to substantiate her claim that Iran is responsible for thousands and thousands of American deaths. He asked her, okay, could you prove that? And then she was like, just look it up. Well, you said it. Why don't you have the proof to back what you said? And then she talks about, hey, there were just 3 Americans who died. And there's some reports that say it alleges that the numbers are high as 200 American soldiers were killed in this kerfuffle. Let's just call it that, right? Or the preliminary stages of the war, right? So she's over here trying to say, okay, this X amount of people died, but there was a report that over 100 little girls died. Israel targeted some school in Iran, and they had over 100 little girls in there and counting. But here we are talking about that Iran is the bully, and many people are buying it. Okay, fine. You think that's the Holy Land. Where in the Bible does it say somebody could go to the Holy Land and bomb and kill over 100 little girls? Give me the scripture, verse and chapter, please. Verse and chapter. And where the hell is the verse and chapter that said that this land was promised to fucking Bibi Netanyahu, who immigrated from Poland? Most of those early Zionists were atheists. They didn't even believe in God or Torah or anything like that. But somehow, they want to convince you this is the chosen people and they promised this to us. Like, okay, give me the verse in scripture. You know what I mean? And this is why people say we think the Bible's a comic book, right? Let's get back into it.
Going according to plan. And so if you are asking me whether or not I support what the president has done, I do. You just stated that the act of war would be if Americans were being killed. You said, what if a bomb went off in the United States, right? For over 40 years, the Iranian government and regime has been responsible for the death.
up, and it looks like I got a super duper chat. Tutney says that Ali's story is a perfect case in point of how FBA have been defending other melanated groups from the beginning with absolutely zero reciprocity. And just in case people just tuned in, I was referring to when the late great Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer ever, when they want to send him to war, he said, hell no, I ain't going to Vietnam. They never called me no nigger. And unfortunately, when many of those people came over here, they worked with the CIA and other alphabet agencies to take over the black hair care market. And then they were calling us niggers. It's unfortunate, but it is unfortunate reality. And this is not to have a victim mentality or anything like that. Just is what it is. You know what I mean? If we have to own that this is what we endured, you have to own what you inflicted. And if you do want to make a contribution to the show, it won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. However, you can hit your boy on the Cash App, Super Chat, or Super Sticker. And I cooked up a little visual just to give y'all some inspiration.
How about a magic trick? I'm gonna make this pencil disappear. Ta-da! It's gone. If you're good at something, never do it for free.
How much you want?
Half. You're crazy. I'm not. No, I'm not.
Of thousands upon thousands of Americans having war with Iran, because as of right now, according to the plan, which I won't say too much on television, but according to the 3 objectives that this administration outlined, everything is going according to plan. And so if you are asking me whether or not I support what the president has done, I do. You just stated that the act of war would be if Americans were being killed. You said, what if a bomb went off in the United States, right? For over 40 years, the Iranian government and regime has been responsible for the deaths of thousands upon thousands of Americans, not to mention state-sponsored terrorism. And so did the president do the right thing? Has he been consistent in this? Absolutely.
Can you just tell me really quickly, where have they killed thousands of Americans in America?
I didn't say they killed thousands of Americans in America. I said that they have been responsible for thousands of Americans being killed. And I think that that's easily something that you can verify. I don't know, state-sponsored terrorism for starters. Are you serious right now about that whole thing? I'm not going to list out exact specific locations. They've literally been responsible for sponsored terrorism.
Are you talking about the Iraq war where the U.S. invaded?
You can start out by the 3 that they just killed. Okay, the whole point of your network, if you want to actually talk about the facts here, I'm giving you the facts. But I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about something that's commonly accepted and known.
Congresswoman, you don't have a good understanding of the conflict.
Well, I'm the one that's getting the briefings, not you. You're a pundit offering your opinion because you want clickbait, but are actually interested in the substance.
No, not at all.
We can talk about the fact that Obama sent millions upon millions of dollars to the Iranian regime, or do you not want to address that because it's not supported by your opinion and your network?
No, not at all.
Is this really even something that we're going to actually get to substance here, or are you going to continue to attack us?
No, it seems like you just want to filibuster. It seems like you don't really want to have a good faith conversation.
Or you just don't like what I'm saying.
No, we would have invited you on the air.
This happens every time I'm on with you.
Yeah, and you keep coming on every time, and you keep stating a lot of things that are incorrect. The United States launched an attack on Iran.
About it, except for you.
The United States launched a war against Iran right now. Iran retaliated, in which American members. Strikes. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, the Iranians responded and killed 3 American service members. So what we're trying to get at is you make an assertion on this air.
And just to let y'all know, I will be shutting this thing down soon in the next 15, 20 minutes. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. McDowell says, I don't quote the Bible. If I'm not mistaken, when Jesus comes back, it said he would set them back on that land. But who is the them, right? Are they really the chosen people? And when you say set them back on that land, are you talking about setting the Europeans? Who is the them you're referring to? The Semitic people or the so-called Semitic people?
This happens every time I'm on with you.
Yeah, and you keep coming on every time, and you keep stating a lot of things that are incorrect.
Because
the United States launched an attack on Iran.
About it, except for you.
The United States launched a war against Iran right now. Iran retaliated, in which American members. Strikes. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but at the end of the day, the Iranians responded and killed 3 American service members. So what we're trying to get at is you make an assertion on this air that it's not an invasion when America sends fighter jets and Israel send fighter jets into another country.
Boots on the ground are not going to happen. Congress will not vote on war with Iran because that is not something that we support, and that is not something that the administration
supports. That's actually what the Constitution says that in Article 1, but I guess you think Article 2 is more important.
Article
so it's up
2 is when when the U.S. citizens and our military are in direct imminent threat, the president reserves the authority.
Yeah, well, he hasn't made that case to the American public or Congress, and that's the problem. And that's why he's supposed to go to Congress.
He's not going to give you classified intelligence
information. He's not supposed to give it to me. He's supposed to give it to members of Congress. He's supposed to go give it to members of Congress. That's exactly why members of Congress. You're only one. There are 435 members and 100 senators, and others have not gotten it. You're not the only one who gets to speak up.
Joining us now is Connecticut.
So that was the clip right there. I'm going to pull this one down and I'm going to play one last clip. This one is from no, it's not Professor Black Truth. This is actually the Black Authority. And he was chiming in on this. And his video was titled "Several MAGA Rats Abandoned Trump After Starting Iran War." So I want to have you hear a little bit of this perspective and see what some of the MAGA maniacs are talking about. Just give me uno momento to pull this up. Oh, looks like I already got it up. And let's get into it.
And wait till y'all hear what Nick Fuentes has to say here.
Let's see what Nancy Boy Nick has to say.
Do not vote in the midterms. And if you do, vote for Democrats. Fuck this. That is what the Republicans deliver. That is what our golden age looks like. The tariffs were refunded. The deportations were stopped. They wound down and withdrew the ICE from Minneapolis. What does this administration do other than embezzle money, go to war with Iran, and bury the Epstein files? Oh, and blackmail Harvard so they police anti-Semitism and ban people who criticize Israel from being in America. This administration needs to be shut down immediately. It has forfeited its mandate. They promise no new wars. They promise mass deportations in America first, and we're not getting any of it. So shut it down. In 2026, shut it down. And our only hope is that in 2028, in the Republican primary, somebody will emerge who will actually put America first. I am not voting for the vice president and the secretary of state that brought us to war in Iran. I won't do it. 2026, shut it down. You got to burn the house down with them inside, metaphorically. And in 28, you better hope that somebody has a prayer to run the Trump strategy and do another hostile takeover over the GOP. Otherwise, I'm going to become a Democrat. Like,
what? Oh, you heard that.
Down with them inside, metaphorically. And in 28, you better hope that somebody has a prayer to run the Trump strategy and do another hostile takeover over the GOP. Otherwise, I'm going to become a Democrat. Like, at that point, rather than be beholden to this country, that is our last chance. 28 Republican primary, we need a Trumpian figure to relight the candle. Someone needs to take the flame and take it further than Trump. He needs to take the baton and take it further and fulfill America first. That is the only way out of this at this point. And anybody that is not on this is not serious. The only takeaway that I have from all of these events, you are not pressuring this administration. All these people told us, if Trump brings us to war in Iran, we'll just tweet about it. Yeah, well, that's not really working, is it?
So, folks, no, my program tonight is not hyperbolic. My program tonight is not clickbait. My program tonight is not, well, it's a one headline hitter quitter. No, it ain't nothing like that, because the beats roll on here. People, Steve Bannon and them have dug up none other than Eric Prince of Blackwater. They've dug up none other than Eric Prince of Blackwater. And Steve Bannon, he's got bigger things to worry about, like, being all over the Epstein files. But I'm sure Steve loves talking about this war right here, because it gets people to not talk about, him coaching Jeffrey Epstein on how to, talking points on if anybody asks you sleep about with underage girls. So, but in any case, Steve Bannon is doing America's work and has dug up Eric Prince. So for everybody who thought that he was gone after the Iraq war, oh no, Eric's still out there, folks. A bit older, a little bit worse for wear, but he's still out there, and he's got a few thoughts about what's going on now.
It seems like it's not as intense as the strike that ended the 12-day war, but spectacular results, correct? I mean, they took out the Ayatollah and his top 40 guys, having a picnic lunch in the afternoon or gathering. The intelligence was pretty special in the fact they took the Ayatollah and 40 of his top guys out, sir.
Look, Steve, it's I'm not happy about the whole thing. I don't think this was in America's interest. It's going to uncork a significant can of worms and chaos and destruction in Iran now. Who takes over? You still have tens, hundreds of thousands of IRGC people that will be positioning to be number two, to be the next rulers of that country.
And shout out to Julianne Fry, and also shout out to Phoenix Fire. And I concur, Eric Prince is a war criminal. Not only that, this dude is a straight deranged sycophant. And he was recently talking about how we need to go back and colonize Africa, right? If Europe is supposed to be for Europeans, then isn't Africa for Africans? So why are you over there meddling in Africa? You're not African. You call Africa a shithole country, but Eric Prince wants to go over there and colonize it. It never stopped being colonized, because once you colonized it once, you ensured that it would be destabilized in perpetuity.
Great. I don't see how this is in keeping with the president's MAGA commitment. I'm disappointed.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of us who are old enough from a quarter of a century ago to remember Eric Prince of Blackwater. For those of you who are not old enough, or you weren't even born, this man was pivotal, because when George W. Bush went marching into Iraq, a war that wasn't really popular with the American people back then, although he bootstrapped it to the 9/11 attacks and convinced a bunch of people, not us over here, but a bunch of folks that.
Now, if y'all want to watch this full video, I suggest that y'all go check out the Black Authorities channel. I'm not going to get too deep in this, but Julie, hold on. Did I say your name right? Like Julianne is saying, Eric Prince is a disgusting, grotesque, and a detestable war criminal. And guess what? He was right around there during the, actually, let him play a little bit more when he gets into the private contractor stuff.
It had something to do. Blackwater, renamed Z, then renamed Academy, but he had changed the name 3 or 4 times because after the war, they were basically pariahs, and they still are. So if anyone ever wondered what happened to Eric Prince, I guess his only real grievance is that this time he didn't get the contract. What? I bet you his only real grievance this time is that he didn't get the contract.
So all these people that say why y'all begging the government? People like Eric Prince, the first thing that they do is go to the government with their hand out for goodies, giveaways, and guarantees. And they send our young boys, they usually go to the urban area and pick on non-white and minority people to go and fight in their forever wars, right? And they'll pay these people anywhere from 30 to 50K a year. 50K would be a good paying salary for someone who's asked to put their life on the line. Meanwhile, Eric Prince is hiring mercenaries that are starting at $100 to $2,000. And guess who's funding it? U.S. taxpayers, you and me. So I'm going to play a little bit more of this and I'm going to get ready to shut her down.
Now, back when his company was getting the contract, he didn't really say anything. They're not even doing it quiet. George W. Bush and Dick Cheney were selling people on the idea that, oh, we don't have to have so many American soldiers over there. Terry was paying $30,000 or $40,000 a year to all caps, sunglasses, convinced a bunch of people, not us over here, but a bunch of folks that it had something to do. 9/11 had something to do with Iraq, or Iraq had something to do with 9/11. Well, when it was very, very clear, they made the same promises then that America would not be brought into a quagmire and that we wouldn't have hundreds of thousands of American troops, which of course we ended up with that. But what they started doing was outsourcing to, quote, security companies. They didn't call them what we usually call them in wars, mercenaries. They called them security contractors. So this begins the rise of the white males wearing khaki pants, t-shirts, bulletproof vests, baseball caps, sunglasses, and beards. And that became the persona, that became the illustration, that became the template of the European invader coming into the Middle East. And let's be very clear about that. Eric Prince made it very clear that he saw himself as a Christian crusader. He said it several times, that this was a Christian crusade in Iraq. And so Eric Prince and his security company, which employed a bunch of ex-military people. For those of you who were there, y'all remember, for my military folk, remember, in the military, you were getting paid like $30,000 or $40,000 a year. If you went to work for Blackwater, you were making $150,000, $200,000 a year. What? Remember? Blackwater, the military was paying $30,000 or $40,000 a year to soldiers. But if you left the military and went to work for Blackwater, you walked in the door, especially if you had infantry experience. Oh, they paid you $150,000, $200,000 right off the bat. Oh yeah, one more thing. Blackwater's money came from the Department of Defense because they had a Defense Department contract, and that was how George W. Bush and Dick Cheney were selling people on the idea that, oh, we don't have to have so many American soldiers over there, but they ultimately did. So that was not true. That didn't work out. They thought that they could have enough mercenaries and, quote, security contractors in order to make up for that shortfall. That didn't really work. Those guys ended up mostly going for security for VIPs. So for politicians, hell, folks over there, Arabs over there in the Middle East, if they were VIPs. So that was mostly what Blackwater ended up doing. And oh yeah, Blackwater was not the only security contractor. There was Blackwater Academy, was Vance over there? I don't remember if Vance was. I know they were in and out. But as far as the security contractors, now a lot of you talk about Halliburton and Kellogg Brown and Root, but they didn't really do security work. They had some security apparatus, but it was really left up to folks like Eric Prince. And Eric Prince was the poster child. For those of us who remember 25 years ago, this guy on your screen, Eric Prince, he was going around bragging that this was a Christian crusade, that they were doing God's work, that this was necessary for Christians to be in the Middle East. And it was his company, Blackwater, renamed Z, then renamed Academy. But he had changed the name 3 or 4 times because after the war, they were basically pariahs, and they still are. So if anyone ever wondered what happened to Eric Prince, I guess his only real grievance is that this time he didn't get the contract. What?
Okay, so I'm going to get ready to start winding it down. So I have a few visuals that I'm going to play. Hopefully you guys stick around to the end, but we'll be shutting this thing down in about the next 10 minutes. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. And Julianne says, disparity between servicemen pay and military contractors is a scandal, but few people care. I might have to do a stream about that because it's true. The people who are willing to fight, bleed, and die for this country, many times they're getting limbs amputated. They are being just treated like a doormat by their own country that they fought for. And the people who are really serving the country are not the oligarchs, it's the firemen, the teachers, right? When people say the military, they say thank you for your service. And I do think people should continue to say that. But who is really providing more service? Some soldier that are taking orders and in some instances killing innocent people, or a teacher who is training and raising innocent children to be productive citizens in society. And not every teacher is good, but there are some great teachers out there, some phenomenal teachers. But we don't say thank them for their service. You expect them. Just do your job. It's like, what is more impactful, right? Someone that is sniping someone from 100 yards away, or someone that is teaching, nurturing, and raising 100 kids? You be the judge. If a burger clipper wants to be paid what he's worth, what do you think a government killer wants? I don't know. Ask John Wick. Ask John Wick. But yeah, so I'm gonna do that rundown of these visuals, and we'll get ready to shut her down. Saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on shite racket and fly back out the mill. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the drawer is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the drawer is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
B-Eazy, that B-Eazy that dude, yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy that dude, yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy that dude, yeah, they know the name. Big got to be easy that dude.
You love me. You really love me. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.